staple this together because it was coming loose. This series of questions is going to make a lot more sense to you than what you've heard. 53. Where is the Garden of Eden? In the land of Canaan. In parenthesis, Asia. 57. Who were Adam and Eve? You have to listen closely. The answer. They are the ones who brought about a discord in the holy city of Mecca and were cast out. 58. Where did they go? They went into Europe. 59. What is the modern name given to their children? Romans. What is the shade of their skin? Pale. What is the modern name for those angels? Arabians. Now, when you think of Arabians, don't get them mixed up with Palestinians. Islam? Now, we will explain to you about a Palestinian. Those are Greeks who came along, Edomites, who came along the shore of Palestine. If you ever want to see a Palestinian, go to Jericho, near Ramallah. They look just like you. Hair like you, dark like you. Rarely you'll see them like me, but they look like you. An Arabian looks like you. Look like Kenny Carter Beck, Donald Crenshaw. Arabian is not who you see in these grocery stores in your city. Those are Palestinians with a heavy mixture of Greek in them. Heavy mixture. Go through some more. It said, here we go. Chisholm, what question you told me about before?
You have the flag, you have Muhammad, you have what do we get the name Jesus?
Okay, good.
What is Negro?
Well, we're going to get that. I'll get back that now.
About to be.
Thank you. It's over here. Now here you say, the other question is, says, when was the head of slave taken off? 1453 Byzantine. By whom? Here it says, yeah, you don't say Muhammad II? Some questionnaires don't say that. They just say Muhammad. Yes. You got it off the internet. Yep. One, you won't put it on the internet, huh?
But that's changed. But if you look at the 102 that's on the internet and that 102 that I looked at both of them side by side, he actually changed some of the things in this. That's still not the original one.
He got it from here.
I don't know why he did
The one who put all that out there, he came here like a thief in the night. I have to say it. In reality, what is a Negro? A Negro is an animal with what? That has 4 legs. What else?
You get the name Jesus.
From the West. Over 50,000 years old. How old is our flag? 50,000 years old. Anyone want to handle this, come forward and handle it gently. We're just warming up. Have anybody ever seen original copy, original document with the Prophet Noble Ali's original signature? Not a copy, original signature. Some of you been here before. This is it. This is not a copy. This is a document that contains his original signature, original document. Come forward. This is his original signature. Now, interesting on this, Governor, is that here. That document. Some of you are more scholars. Some of you are first. And if you would like to hear the contents of that letter, we can have you read it. Islam, how are you? Where's your running buddy? Okay. Careful with that. That is original document, original signature, not a copy. Islam, Lord, you got the more straight. What's wrong with your car?
No, some brother.
What Taylor Hill have to do with that? They said your car broke down. Oh. All those who come in late, you're early enough for the next meeting. Boy, I could dig some of that water. Say. That's Spanish. Anybody want a cold drink? Or water? That's why I clarified. You want a cold drink? Come up here and get your cold drink of water. This purple voice is really wonderful. Really. Next, we ain't talking about the scholars, but those who are here for the first time. Those who've been here before, you know about the nationality card being in Espanol. How many out there have seen our nationality card in Spanish? Raise your hand. How many have not? Raise your hand. Oh. Did Jackson Hill raise his hand?
I see.
Okay. Where you been in? I ain't seen you since 1940. You been high in Jackson Hill?
No, sir.
Okay, glad to see you. Any questions?
You gonna read that glass?
Start with reading. Please do not try to read it because it would be too. Everybody won't benefit from it. Go ahead, one person read it, and then thank you so much. You're so kind. Very nice. Give me a microphone.
Brother Crumby Bay, the Governor and Chief Head, okay. Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office, 3603, Indiana Avenue. Tell, Douglas, 5909. In small print it says, send all official business to the Home Office in care of Noble Jewel University, Chicago, Illinois, March 11th, 1929. Brother Crumby Bay, the Governor and Chief Head of the Temple in Pittsburgh, PA. Brother Charles Bay, Governor and Chief Head of the Temple in Cleveland, Ohio. These two brothers are empowered by the Prophet to investigate business, etc. of Temple number 4 in Detroit, Michigan. Because Lomax Bay has violated all divine laws of the Prophet even before the Prophet's face, February 15, 1929. He claims that the prophet has no more power and the finance from Detroit would be in his charge. He wouldn't send any to the prophet. He yelled with a loud voice, "Look at me, I will guide you through." This is lawful and living evidence spoken before 1,500 people, and the prophet was also present. I, the prophet, declare his office vacant, and the name of Grand Governor discharged. He can only be a member according to the law because the Moorish Science Temple of America is a divine organization. Each temple is under supreme guidance of the prophet. When man fails after being placed head of the temple by the prophet of obeying our divine laws and constitution, he is a traitor and enemy to the divine creed and unloyal to the national government, USA, to which the movement is to make men and women better citizens. From the prophet, Noble Drawley. And his signature.
Thank you, sister. There's so much meat in here. Can we pick out the meat? Y'all want to pick out the meat?
Yeah.
First of all, Act 1 of the additional laws that the prophet wrote. You could be expelled or put under heavy restriction by who?
The prophet or the grand sheik.
And he did it. He did it. He expelled and put him under heavy restriction because he violated the law. What law did he violate?
All of them.
All of them. Specifically, Act 4, additional laws. Because the prophet is a member and founder of this organization. So he spoke radical about following him instead of the prophet. Islam?
Islam.
Now, this is in Detroit. And the prophet came to Detroit. And the people that was there amounted to how many? 1,500. They would be like sardines in this room. Lomax Faye held one position before he went to Detroit. Grand Chief. Grand Governor. He was the first one. But he sent two brothers and empowered them to investigate the business. Because in Detroit, Temple number 4, they had businesses there, didn't they? They had grocery stores and what else? Laundromat. Moving services. He investigated all that business. Okay? So he declared that the office would be vacant according to law. You can't remove anyone. The prophet himself didn't remove anyone unless it was legal. According to whose law? Our law. So you can't say a brother or sister did A, B, C. You have to say what law that they broke, and you have to show what? Proof. Proof. You can't. Well, he took $98,000. You have proof that he did? No, but I just know he did. Do you handle the books? Are you the treasurer? Do you count the money every night? Do you have receipts? What proof do you have even in a court of law? You can't go up there on hearsay. You got to have proof. The burden of proof is the one who accrues. Huh? What other meat you see in here? Some more meat in here.
That he sent people that was from different states to look at the business of the prophet.
Yes, he did.
He appointed, he didn't make it just a Michigan thing. He seen that it was fit to bring other people in because Michigan could have been all the way corrupt.
Yes, he did. What else? That's good.
The movement is dedicated to make us better citizens.
Good point. Let's read that again. Because some of us are confused about our relationship with USA. And confused with what USA means. They try to make it out of something that's different on the national economy. Well, that means United States of America. Where is it? He said here, when man fails after being placed head of the temple by the prophet of obeying our divine laws and constitution, ours, he is a traitor and an enemy to the divine creed and unloyal to the national government, USA. Which the movement is to make men and women better citizens. This is what we don't get, some of us. United States of America is our country. What's wrong? We We haven't stepped to the plate to govern our own country yet. And when we do, we still gonna call it what we called it initially, United States of America. You get it? Our country is the United States of America. That's our country. That's what we call it. We call it United States of America. And when the flag switch, it's still going to be called United States of America. Because the prophets say they would switch. It's still going to be called that. Why is it the most prosperous and strongest country in the world? Because it's ours. Because we're the most strongest and prosperous people in the world. But if you're not careful, they have you doing the turnaround. You're not a United States American citizen. No, you're the one that's not. I know I am. And everything on that flag, the colors, the stars, is all about you. That's why they never tell you who designed the flag. It wasn't Bessie Ross. Look it up, check it out, Google it. All they'll tell you is that, oh, Bessie Ross didn't make the flag, but they won't tell you who did. We know who made it. You made it. That's another piece of media. The national government, USA. Everybody's nationality card says, I am a citizen of the USA. No question. No question. I saw, sister, you looking at the other side. It's a lot of stuff here. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm afraid to handle it because every time you move it, see it tears. I'm afraid to handle it. This is not Noble Drew Ali's signature. And you compare the signatures with his signature. I don't know whose it is. Maybe somebody signed for him, but this is not his signature. That's a fact. And the letter reads. Question has been out there a long time now. What's up, though? Okay.
Moorish Temple of America, Home Office, 3603.
Go ahead.
Home Office, 3603 Indiana Avenue, Noble Drew Ali founder. Islam. Dear brother, please send to me all information as to the root of which you were founded and the way that I have helped you in every respect. Also, the membership of all the members in your temple. Also, please send to me the members in number who desire and love me as their prophet and their desire for seeing me now. Every head of every temple is to be represented in the Supreme Council at the Grand Body, and must know and take an active part in all business transactions therein. And without the incorporation of the heads of all temples, there can be no meeting of the Supreme Grand Council, and no few can act for the entire Moorish Science Temple. Abide by the previous matter. Yours in Allah. Peace. Noble Drew Ali.
Any questions on that?
Could you read that again? And what date is on it?
There's not a date.
And the signatures are Noble Drew Ali and Juanita Richardson Bay, who is the first head of the
Sisters on Moorish God.
she was.
I don't get
When
it.
she got married, was she a real or
You said, read it again?
What part you want read? We got a lot of stuff coming. But we'll read it. Just pick a part you want read. Chris, show you.
I just wanted to hear the part about the Supreme Council and the Grand Body.
Yeah.
Every head of every temple is to be represented in the Supreme Council at the Grand Body, and must know and take an active part in all business transactions therein, And without the incorporation of the heads of all temples, there can be no meeting of the Supreme Grand Council, and no few can act for the entire Moorish Science Temple.
Unless empowered by you. Now, there's another piece to that called the prophet announces his power and authority. Okay. Now, what this was for, from my understanding, was to get these Moors to come to convention. Because at the convention is where the great grand body sits down. So what do you have to say if you're not at a convention? He needs all of our participation, especially if you're head of a group or a temple. You have to be. You say yes, sir? Who has a question? Somebody say whisper that? Oh. This is a copy, comes out of our archives, I didn't bring the original, of the nationality card in Espanol. Now, I long to know, was the language the same? Now, the nationality card, it says, Aficionado Cuban-Americano Headquarters. And I'll tell you what happened when I went to Cuba and gave this card to our people there. It's fine. Anyone wants this, we can pass around. Where should we start? The card
You saying that that's the original nationality?
for them. What the prophet did was he connected the Moors in America back to what?
That's what a lot of that they translated slave stuff.
But the card to my surprise is not written in Spanish. No, you got it.
I didn't want it.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, yeah. Say
I
it.
had Portuguese.
Yeah, I saw it.
This card, this actually solves argument about looking at this card. Some people say if a person joined the Moorish Science of America, for example, and they already have their nationality, I think it's about the country, are they considered Moorish Americans? What they consider? And on the card, we call them Cuban Americans.
Yeah.
So they have a nationality in the membership card. So everybody in the that was a member of the Moorish Science of America wasn't necessarily a Moorish American being a part of the movement. So they could be a part of the movement, don't have to be a Moorish American. That's the question out there in the country that most people are confused about.
Good point. Why? Wait, what's it? Why?
Why what?
Why is it like that? You just explained it, but why?
You come in as a Cuban American? Well, because he said the Moorish Holy People Science of America.
What else? You know, Brandon?
Well, I think say, well, first, all numbers must go under their nationality.
Yes.
They can be government in one country,
Oh, but why?
We are the whole, not the charter, but I can't say exactly what it says in the chapter.
Okay. I just read to you why. Leave it.
Would that coincide with why we Moorish Americans? Because we are descendants of Iraq?
You're not hitting the bullseye. Sister, let me see. I read it to you earlier.
United States of America. He's
The
united.
prophet said he was what?
Prophet of
The founder and uniting of the Asiatic nation of the states. He want all of them. Anywhere there's the Americans belong to the Moorish Science Temple of America. ETC, Moorish Science Temple of America. Cubano, Trinidad, Haiti, Puerto Rico, all the Americas, North, South, Central America, all of them.
What happens if a temple, elder minister, is in Africa? What would it be called?
I had to think about that. Inquiring minds, I'm sure, want to know. But that's why. That's a good point. Also, since you brought that up, when I was in Havana, Cuba, in Santiago in Havana, the road from Havana to Guantanamo. The poverty there is great. And I remember sharing some information with you all before, how I gave a Cubano sister $1 American. She bought 12 bottles of mango juice, a loaf of bread, and a chicken.
Oh.
So 50 cents dues
Oh.
is more than what they could pay. Now when the prophet set the temple there, and most of those Moors are in a part of Cuba called Cuba de Santiago. That part of Cuba where you see a whole lot of them. As I shared with you before, they were so happy that I was there. I was happy that one of their brothers he gave me a zikr beads from his grandfather. He was dying, he got up, he started driving his buckboard, because that's their way of getting around. It's so poor, with a little skinny horse. And then everybody said, oh, he's in. Don, whatever his name is, Don is the title for
Boss.
respect, title of respect. Like Don Pinochet, Don Raphael. It's a title of respect. And he was happy. He says to me, when you bring the Moorish Science Temple of America back here, I will be your first recruit. He said it with so much feeling. You know, Espanol, one of the romantic languages, if you speak it right, it's so much feeling. If you say it right, it's said with so much feeling. Mi amor, señorita. I mean, the feeling is so deep. But he passed before I could ever get back. Let's finish. Here's some meat. This cannot be passed around. I can lay it on the table, and you can come up and examine it. You can see I was been afraid. Pat, I bought some plastic covers, so we can put them right in there. Oh, you know what? There you go. Islam, baby, how you doing, darling? May 7, 1931. May 7, 1931. Many of you want to know what happened. Who did it? Wrong. May 12. May 12, 1931. Mr. Millie Eel, Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporation, Chicago, Illinois. Dear sir, kindly acknowledging your receipt of $120 for professional services rendered in the case of Moorish Science Temple of America, a corporation by C. Kirkman Bay versus E. Millie Eel. This is to further state that the verdict was entered in favor of the defendant, which was yourself, E. Millie Eel, by Judge Eberhard in the Municipal Court, Room 913. I was right. May 7, 1931. Case number 1746990. Anybody ever heard of this? Anybody ever read it, ever seen it? Come up and look at it, if you desire. What this saying is that this is when confusion came in. Kirkman Bay wanted to sue the Moorish Science Temple of America, saying that he was head and he was a Supreme Grand Advisor and Monterey. So, we're talking about Moorish American history now. Y'all ready to go deep?
Islam.
Let's go there. Remember I said earlier, let me get a drink of my cold drink. My ginger beer. Oh, oh,
Is that paper there the original?
it's a copy. Original, we'll keep somewhere else because the lawyer said, as long as we had the original, we don't have a problem. We can open up both guns. It's not Roger Brewington, man. It's Roger Brewington Bank.
No, Roger, brother man.
Brother man. Brother man was the plan.
You a good seat. Your voice.
Shall we continue? It's a whole lot of things. Shall we continue? D. Terry Bell, you got it? Remember I said earlier that in 1929, August, that Milieu was dead centered on doing what the prophet told him to do, going around to the temples and correcting their charter from Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the World to Moorish Science Temple of America. He particularly did that. We did the Moorish Guide and we clocked all of his visits and how long he was there. And we got all them letters to show where he was. He was moving every month. I mean, every week he was moving. In the whole week of August, while he was gone, not the grand body, but a group of Moors who was already part of the coup that was planned to move the prophet out, inspired by people like Lomax Bey, to turn the movement around. Now, why? Let me just give you a bit of history so you can follow the logic, the line coming along where we're going. And this took a lot of time to put all this stuff together. Why would anyone want to overthrow the movement? Why would anyone want to destroy the movement or control the movement?
You want to take charge of the situation?
Yes. And why would they want to take charge of the situation?
So that's what the money is.
That's where the money is? What else?
That's what power and authority is, and that's what the money is.
Okay, you're talking about money. Let's go with power and authority. You say power and authority. What kind of power and authority would we have had to do what with? That was so bad.
Political power.
Say corner government.
To unite? Who said unite? Dana? You got to see me. Not only that.
To correct the Negro, black, and colored damage that was done.
Yes. Yes. Remember the Free National Constitution of 1774? The Articles of Association? The prophet says since that Constitution has never been changed, there's no need for the 14th and 15th Amendment. Didn't he say that? Many people didn't want you to know that Constitution was never changed. Who were these people who didn't want you to know that Constitution was changed? Were they the European nations who put a mark upon the Moors?
Of course. That's received.
They were the European nations who put those marks upon the Moors. They never wanted you to know that it changed. They wanted you to think that you needed the 14th and 15th Amendment for economic reasons, because when you read the Articles of Association, a large part of that is talking about what? Commerce. Commerce is money, molasses, tobacco, all those things that they were growing here for free labor, and we was doing it too. If you check Monroe's Bennett's book before the Mayflower, it tells you that. There are many of us on plantations too. So it was and is and will be about the money. So it was to their best economic interest. One of the ones it was one of the main culprits whom it was suited best to their commerce and monetary issues was none other than Julius. Why? He was
Jewish Zionist philanthropist.
Come on now. He was that, but what was he in the economic sense?
Billion.
No.
Hold on now.
Where you want to have this one?
What did he say again?
What'd you say, Matthew?
What did he say?
Tell him again, Matthews Bay.
He was the president of Sears.
Yes.
Sears, what does Sears got to do with it?
Sears was the largest catalog retail in the country, if not in the world. You could even buy a house from Sears, and they would ship you the wood, the brick, am I right? The plans, they would ship you everything. Sears was the main one who started catalog retailing. Julius Rosenwald came in after being, you should read about him, Google him you all, after being head of his own clothing tailoring company. That's what he did. He amassed riches with his uncles. And he had the opportunity to come in to Sears as a partner and bought his partner out. So he controlled massive amount of money. He was a multi-billionaire also. He had a strong connection with the Polish Jewish community in Chicago. Did you know that Chicago is the largest Polish Jewish community in the world?
Yes.
Also, the name on the back of your questionnaire, Salom Jakowski, is a Polish Jew who had political connections to Julius Rosenwald. Did you know the Field Museum of Natural History and the Museum of Science and History Field is named after Marshall Field? Do you know who put up the money to build that? Julius Rosenwald. Who finances most of your major Asiatic colleges in the South? Julius Rosenwald. Why? So he can control the curriculum, even in Cleveland. He was the bag man for what would be known then as the Trilateral Commission. Dukes and duchesses, people of head of states, bypassed the White House to come to Chicago to see him. He's buried in Rose Hill Cemetery, one of the largest cemeteries in Chicago, that is well guarded. And his name was supposed to be Rohill, named after the person, the European, who owned the land. And they promised him they would name the cemetery after him, but they reneged on him. Now that we've drawn an illustration of Julius Rosenwald, let's find out who his right-hand man was. Who he told all his secrets to. Who changed his socks?
Clark Green.
Clark Green. Now you see the connection, right? So one day the prophet was coming to the temple at 3140 Indiana. He was coming from 3603 Indiana, which is about 5-6 blocks. When he got there, all his furniture was set out on the ground. And they claimed that it was a joke and unreal. 3140 Indiana housed a lot of political people who was controlled by Julius Rosenwald. One of the political people was Oscar the Priest. But 3140 Indiana, which became known as Unity Hall, was owned by Jews. That was their playhouse. 3 floors with 10 rooms apiece. 3140 Indiana was dedicated to Oscar the Priest and renamed Unity Hall the People's Movement. Then the clubs in Chicago, the different clubs, the Viking Club, this club, these were clubs. Women's Club. Club was popular. Boosters Club also had their office there. But all of them's goal was to get some kind of political power or some money. In order to get this, they had to have connections. They had to know people like today. You got to know the right people. Sometimes it ain't how much you know, it's that you know the right people. Islam? The city of Chicago has always been that way. And to talk about that, and I can't, it's going to take a couple of hours of knowing the right people, especially putting in 20 years as a health inspector for the city of Chicago. I can tell you some stuff firsthand that I've seen. Lomax Bay came from the city of Chicago, moved to Detroit. Many of the people who were heavily involved in the politics of Chicago were also involved in who was feeding them. There's different ways you can get fed. You can get comp from the, they call it the ladies' house, house of prostitution, which was ran by beginning with Mushmouth Johnson, by Bob, get his last name at the Peking House. Hustlers, pimps and hustlers, always had a good grip on Chicago because it was like a brothel town. So you can get comped that way. You can say, come on in, man. You can gamble for free, you know, and you can sit down if your girl ain't ready, or we can get your own girl. Sit down in the parlor, and we'll have the boys play some good old music for you called ASS. Later became known as jazz. Now, Julius was being comped because when his people came in from overseas, he had to have somewhere to take them. And that's what he took them. They gambled, he comped them, and then he also comped them with money. Compensation. He also comped them with money. You should be able to keep your job without going out there hustling for the vote. That's called machine politics. It's called the democratic machine politics in Chicago. Guess who designed it without getting too far off the subject? A Moorish American Muslim. Nope. Peg-leg
William
Dawson. Peg-leg Dawson Bay, who was the Temple's lawyer, who was a student, a protege of Oscar DePriest.
Then later on took them on.
Later on took him on. So was Louis B. Anderson. Long story. Okay, I said all that to say this. That was enough motive to stop Noble Drew, because if he had been more successful in getting this information out, the first thing that would have been upset and destroyed was their economic system. That's the first thing. And they wouldn't have it. So how do you control something like that? You control everything he does. You put somebody on to watch everywhere he goes and what he says and what he does. Who was put on Noble Drew to do this?
Claude Green.
Who said Claude Green? You get the CD? Get your DVD. Claude Green. On top of that, this is something that's going to change your life. Julius Roosevelt comes from that long line, bloodline, and I haven't confirmed it, but I got really close to our killers. They knew that the prophet was coming. They knew it. They knew who he was, and they knew he was coming, and they knew what he was coming to do. To stop him meant everything to them. Okay? So what Julius Roosevelt did, he put Claude Green Bay on. Claude Green Bay was the manager of Unity Hall 3140 Indiana. Got it? So he's the one who told the prophet, come on in here, we'll give you an office. Y'all can meet in the basement. The church is meeting upstairs. The prophet said, okay. Because 3140, believe it or not, was not the first place where the prophet met the people at. Did y'all know that? Ken Carter Bay knew it. He got a collection of guys. PlayStation. Okay? So, it was to their best interest. So as Claude Green began to play interference, he galvanized a few other ones that he could recruit and help him. Some of them were Sister Martha Delville from the north side, known also as Whitehead Bay. You got enough. Whitehead Bay. Lomax Bay. So they were working on the inside to overthrow the Moorish Science Temple of America and make the coup a reality. How did Kirkman Bay come into the Moorish Science Temple of America? Does anyone know that?
Well, the sister introduced her.
Who said the janitor?
I did.
It's close.
The sister
So who in,
introduced
what sister?
Sister Delville.
Yes, sir. She introduced Kirkman, New Jersey. So he sent them the letter and said, they come to you next to recruit more people for His Majesty's Army. So by some kind of international legislation, he was able to carry a gun. So he tried to intimidate. He came back to Chicago and tried to intimidate Miliel and the Moors